here today to show you how to make the smile mask, which has a clear PVC window, which obviously helps anyone who needs to lip read or relies on facial expressions for greater understanding and communication. The pattern is free from my website, and when you print it off, it fits onto one A4 sheet of paper. It also has the pattern for the piece of PVC. If you want to print it twice, then you can do and join it together down the centre. That will give you the pattern for the complete piece. If you only print it once, then you need to place the pattern onto a folded piece of fabric with the centre against the fold and cut round it. The lining, the inside layer, is the same except it's slightly shorter, and the line is clearly marked on the paper pattern. Most importantly is you don't cut out the rectangle for the window. So the pattern is marked, so here's the half of the rectangle. It's marked with two diagonal lines. When that's placed onto the fabric, you need to cut from the fold right to the corner, and again from the fold right to the other corner. Although I've already done mine, this is the idea. So from the folded edge right to the corner, which you can either do with the paper or you can draw it onto your fabric, preferably the wrong side. I like to use a chalk pencil, however a biro will be fine. I'd avoid felt tip pens as they tend to bleed through and might not come out of the fabric later. So once you've cut your fabric out and cut the diagonal lines in the window, you go to the iron and fold these little triangles out. So you fold them out really tightly at each corner and iron the crease on each of them. I've already done that with mine. I've got the main piece and the facing, oh sorry, the lining, and I'm using double-sided sticky tape because it really helps to keep the PVC in place as you're machining. So 4 strips of the sticky tape on each piece. I've already prepared my lining fabric, so the PVC is already in place, ready to sew. And because we don't want too many holes in the PVC, I'm using my longer stitch length, which is 5mm on my machine. Yours might be longer, it might be 7mm. And I'm placing the fabric into the machine with the edge of the machine foot against the folded edge of the window, and using the needle down function if you have one, and machine about 2 stitches past the end of the window, pivot the work, and again about 2 stitches past the window. If you don't have the needle down function, then stitch to the corner, level with the corner, 1 more stitch, and then turn the wheel on the side of your sewing machine towards you so the needle goes down. You lift the foot, turn your work, foot down, and carry on again the other side. If you want, you can trim away the little triangles along each side of the window. Make sure you're not catching the whole of the fabric, just the little bits that stick out. And the next stage is to create some shape, because we want the PVC to stand away from the front of the face. So the 2 triangular pieces here are like making a dart. So we're going to fold the fabric in half, right sides together. So we're matching the corner and we're going to stitch along the short edge there, reducing my stitch length and stitching approximately 1/4 of an inch from the edge. And reverse a little bit at the fold. And the same on the other side. So still with right sides of the fabric together, match the corner and stitch towards the fold. Reverse a little bit the fold for strength. Going to repeat that with the fabric that will be on the outside of the face covering. Again, fold in half, right sides together. We're now ready to join the two pieces together, and the design is a different shape at both sides. The short end is to go over the nose and the longer end is to go under the chin. So it's important to match the lining and the main fabric to the right part of the outer layer. So we're going to match the short seam, the short little dart here, right sides together. And if you match the actual stitching together and put a pin or a clip to hold that seam together and match the cut edges along one edge. Going to stitch all the way along, again approximately 1/4 of an inch from the edge. You can backstitch the fabric, the seams at each end, but it's not important because we will be stitching over them again later. And do the same on the other side. So we start by matching the seam together, holding it in place and stitching along the long edge. It's now time to turn our work out the right way. So because we've got the hole in the centre, it's quite easy to turn the fabric through that hole and you can see that the mask is beginning to take shape. To make the long edges nice and sharp, you can press them, but it's probably easier and will help after laundering, after washing later, if you top stitch. So really close to folded edge. Twiddling the fabric between your finger and thumb can really help get the two layers so the seam is right near the edge. And repeat again along the other side. Because I'm using two contrasting fabrics, I really would like the lining not to show on the outside. So try to roll it so that the seam is just slightly to the underside, and top stitch close to the edge. Push the points out, and we're now ready to actually stitch around that opening. So using the double-sided sticky tape, which is often the hardest thing we do, is match one corner and try to keep the fold of the two layers of fabric together. I'm going to do the same across the other short side. Match the corner, keep the folds together, and then do the same with the long edges. Put the machine to the long stitch again, and we're now going to machine very close to the edge of the window all the way round. Again, I like to use the needle down function. So here we have the mask. It's now rather pointed down the middle. So to get it more of a box shape, we turn it inside out, push it through, and fold. So the stitching here is in the centre of the window, and the end of the stitching there creates a point. Place that point approximately on the 15mm line on the base of your sewing machine. And stitch backwards to the fold of the fabric, forwards again, and reverse. I'm going to do the same at the other side. So push with your fingers, push so that both layers of the fabric are tight against each other. Fold so that the seam is in the centre and the end of the stitching makes that point. Place the point against the 15mm mark. When we turn it out to the right side, you've now got a box shape. It's going to fit around the face much more easily and more comfortably. The only thing left to do is to make the casing for the ties. I'm using cord elastic. It's thicker and stronger than shearing elastic. You could use flat elastic and you can use ribbon or tape. I found this works well if you're wanting to make masks to fit people with different size faces. I've designed it so that it ties behind your neck. So place the cut end to the wider end of the mask that will be the chin side. And I find actually stitching the casing with elastic in place is easiest. You can stitch the casing and thread it through afterwards if you find that easier. So fold the edge over and fold over again. And straight stitch near to the fold, reverse at both ends. This seam at the top and bottom of the casing is the one that's going to take the most strain when it's worn, so it is important to make sure it's strong. So reverse at both ends. Again, place the elastic across where we want it to go. One fold and fold over again. You always pin or put a clip to hold this in place as you sew. And there we have the finished mask, or the face covering as it really is. It's not a medical mask. The only other thing to do is to stop the PVC from misting up. A very small amount of washing up liquid on a paper towel rubbed into the back of the window and then polished off is amazing at keeping the moisture levels down. So that's really essential. Washing, because of the PVC, it can't go into the washing machine or the tumble dryer, so it needs to be washed in warm soapy water, just like we've been washing our hands during the crisis. I like to use a really firmly woven cotton. Poplin is perfect. Fat quarters work quite well. I've managed to get 1 complete mask from a fat quarter and 3 masks from 2 fat quarters, so a little bit of careful folding. You can use the fabric quite effectively. The PVC I've bought from Amazon, although with a little bit investigating, I think the plastic that is sometimes, or clear plastic, is sometimes used for cosmetic bags and pencil cases is probably going to work just as well, and you get that in much smaller quantities. Also some packaging that home textiles, things like bedding, comes in, is also in quite a strong plastic, which I think will work. But I haven't managed to actually get hold of any of that to investigate it. So I hope you found that useful, and will consider making these, especially if you work in an environment where you have to communicate with people who may be deaf or hearing impaired, or working perhaps with children who really rely on good facial expressions to help their understanding. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy making them.